speaking of the Masked Singer, you guys infiltrated this tower. Usham Hambar, looking for stolen Tylestis goods, and you found them, but before you could recover them and leave, the tower blasted off. And you are hurtling very, very quickly into space.
Into the sky.
So my recollection is that most of you were clutched on the second floor.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
As the rocket rattles its way through the atmosphere. None of you on the second floor have any idea what's happening. Like, the world is just crumbling. Because the windows on the second floor, remember, are blacked out from the inside and have wooden... it's boarded up from the outside. Connor, the rattling of the tower sent you tumbling down the stairs, so you're watching out the front door of the tower here, which is completely blown off its frame, and you're watching the city recede beneath you at an alarming rate. And this happens several times over the next couple of minutes as you're watching, you're thinking... Well, I guess I'll ask this. I don't know anything about Connor's metaphysical beliefs. What does Connor think is at the top of the world?
Well, considering we just ventured to the center of the universe, or center of the multiverse, I don't...
Like, so you're expecting to crash into the bottom of Sigil?
Maybe. I mean, there are celestial, like... Yeah, I don't know. I imagine he sees space and goes, okay, space. And doesn't really think about it more than that.
Well, you can't see space yet. You're just watching the world, the city.
The night sky is what I mean.
Okay. It takes a few minutes before you can see what you recognize as the night sky. Because you're higher than anything you think has ever been. It's to the point where, like, you're clutching the banister of the stairs with one arm. And, like, if you held out your other arm, like, you could cover now the entire city of Dunfoss with, like, just your thumbnail.
Am I struggling to breathe? Is the atmospheric pressure okay? Am I about to be hurtled out of this doorway?
You're being rattled back and forth so violently that it feels like your arms might come dislocated.
Okay.
As far as breathing's fine. You're not having trouble breathing. Not that you'd have any reason to suspect that you couldn't breathe in the night sky if you'd gotten up there.
Absolutely true.
But what happens is you're thinking, like, okay, we're, like, really high above the city. And then a few more seconds pass, and you're much higher than that. To the point where now, like, you could cover the city with your hand, and then you could cover it with your fingernail. And you realize, looking down, you're looking at everywhere you've ever traveled in your entire life. The forests where you spent most of your adult life before returning to Dunfoss. Like, you see all of it at once. And you get higher and higher still until you see the curve of the planets. The wall of mountains at the far eastern edge of the continent. And behind it, you do see the night sky. And as fast as you're moving, as fast as it feels like your head is banging, and it feels like your eyes are rattling around in your skull, and all of your bones are being shaken to dust. And you feel like at any moment now, the stars are going to be in view, and we're going to be traveling towards them. But no matter how fast you move, and no matter how far away, how small the planet looks, just the orb of it as you move away and away and away from it, the stars never get any closer. Is anybody doing anything at this moment except for just hanging on for dear life?
Just hanging on for dear life.
Okay.
That was my plan.
I think Connor would let out a shout/scream.
Like, you can't hear it. It's way too loud. Just
he's still gonna give one. Not that anyone has to hear it.
You hear this. Everything is engulfed. This tremendous roaring sound. And in fact, Connor, as you get up to this high, you can see curling away from the bottom of the tower is just this streak of orange and white fire. And then a remarkable thing happens. The sound...
What is the remarkable thing?
The sound begins to subside and is replaced by just silence. And the rattling comes to a stop, and it becomes not just still, but very still. Deathly still. To the point where you can hear your own ragged and shallow breaths. And then you realize, Connor, that for a moment you're no longer sitting clutching to the stairs, but you feel your body lift as though levitated by magic away from it. But it doesn't feel like magic. I mean, you've had magical flight before. You know what it feels like to be able to fly. That's not what this is. This is something very different. It just feels like you no longer have weight. It feels like you're no longer drawn to the floor. You can still move in any direction under your own muscular power, but you don't have that ability to move as though you would with magical flight. And this is the same sensation that everybody on the second floor, as whatever you're clutching onto, you just start floating up off the floor. You realize now this must be why these chairs are just bolted to the ground.
Call out to Connor. Connor, you all right?
Oh my god. That quake destroyed the entire city and we're free falling into the center of the planet.
How long until we hit?
Lucius,
What do we do?
Lucius goes hand over hand, tries to pull himself down the stairs to catch up to Connor.
I'll activate my winged boots and fly after him.
Don't. Gus is just kind of flailing around and spinning kind of like at a 45-degree angle.
Okay. You activate your winged boots, but you don't feel any difference in the sensation. The winged boots are there to counteract gravity, and there is none in this place. You can still use the magic of the boots to move without doing what Lucius is doing, without grabbing something and pulling along, but it's a much different sensation of flying around. With magical flight, using these winged boots, you still feel the pull beneath you, to the point where, like, if you had gotten turned upside down, you would know which way is down. Being weightless,
Yeah, Alex
you have
slams
no
into this
sensation.
wall, expecting to have some sort of resistance to his flight.
So
That
my
is
vision.
That is an interesting physics question. If you have magical flight and give yourself inertia in a weightless space, can you then stop?
It's funny because I've been playing Dyson Sphere program lately, and you describing all of this is like, no, I'm just picturing Dyson Sphere, like you can slingshot yourself toward a star and then gain speed that way.
Lucius, you pull yourself hand
Yep.
over hand down to check on Connor. And I mean, Connor is battered and bruised and bloodied, having been tumbled down the stairs and being rattled terribly against the wall and the banister here. And he's fixated, and I'm gonna interpret the noise he made as like the Tina from Bob's Burgers, just anxiety static.
That's a different character. That's Eric. But same kind of deal.
But you see he's fixated, just can't turn away from looking out. And you realize the door of the tower has been blown off. And you look out, and it's almost, because you didn't see the actual traveling motion. And
No.
looking out, it's almost impossible to parse, because you've seen maps of the continent before. And like the shape of parts of the ocean and the opposing continent in Romneus as well. And seeing it all at once.
Mm-hmm.
It takes you a few moments. You think you're just looking at this incredibly elaborate map, but it can't be a map, because if it was a map, like, yeah, you'd have like the yellow deserts on one side and like the ice to the south, and then vast swaths of like green forests and mountains over to the east, which you are seeing. But the weird thing is, like, the whole thing is just smudged with these like big white streaks, like somebody has spilled paint over it. And behind it,
What?
you see the field of stars, the night sky.
What happened?
Connor points to the door and just goes, ah.
Alexander, I don't think we've fallen down into the center of the world.
Okay, so I guess, see, because of the quakes, I assumed that, the whatever was under the tower had finally given way, and we were weightless because of the free fall. I guess an equally valid explanation is we have given way and we're weightless because we're in free ascent?
I don't think it works like that, but that's the best
Those
theory
are
I can come up
clouds?
with right now.
So yeah, Alex, you look down out the door and you see these weird white smudges, and it takes you a few moments and you realize you're looking at weather from so high up that you can see the entire cloud system all at once. Big enough to cover half of a continent, half of an ocean.
Those are much more structured than I would have expected. Interesting.
What is Gustavus doing?
He's just sitting here. Well, floating here
Gus.
currently. I'm watching the ice wall.
Because, yeah, you're at this ice wall. On the other side, they have parts of these dismantled chairs stacked up behind it. Sitting there, you hear a cracking sound that sounds like it's coming from the other side of the stone wall. And you watch for a moment, and looking at the windows, which have this smoked glass steel inlay to them. Looking at them, they still look black, but you blink for a moment and realize you're not looking at the black of the glass steel anymore. It has undergone some sort of transformation. And now you're looking out at just the night sky. Is the blackness. And you can see remnants of the boards on the outside of the window floating there. Just
When
a few feet
when did
away.
when did it get dark? Gus is like counting, like, we haven't been in the tower that long. And he's like counting on his fingers like what time it was.
Connor finally calms down.
You back with us,
Connor, are we looking at what I think we're looking at?
Yeah.
And you're so high up now, Connor, that you're looking and you're trying to see the city of Dunfoss. And you can't see it anymore. It's too small from your perspective.
Connor kind of points and then like moves his hand a little bit and points again and goes, where's Dunfoss? I don't know. Why are we here? Why are we up here? When we're done, I'm going back to the forest. I'm going to become a recluse again. This was a mistake.
Is this really any more weird than Sigil? That was on top of an infinitely high spire. That had both the top and the bottom.
Tell me again how we're investigators, not adventurers. What are we investigating at this point?
Yeah, I think this one kind of got away from us.
I think
be honest with
now
you.
we're investigating how the fuck we get back to Dunfoss.
This one kind of got away from us.
Gus.
Yeah.
Okay, that's terrifying, Alexander, that you're saying that, because usually you're the one who's saying, I'm sure we can handle this.
Oh, I'm sure we can. It's just, I think the whole investigation thing got away with us, and we might have accidentally found our way into an adventure.
Gus.
Yeah.
Sit at the base of the stairs, kind of looking dumbfounded out of the window, wondering what time it is. You hear a faraway, like, knocking sound. And turning around, you see Stonkmeyer. And he's standing on the stairs. And he's wearing these, like, big, heavy boots that go up past his knee. And they're strapped onto his leg with, like, heavy belts constricted around his leg just above his knee. and he's rapping on his side of the ice wall.
Okay.
When he sees that he has your attention, he holds his finger up, and he reaches down under his robes, pulls his breeches down over the top of his big heavy boots, and just starts urinating on his side of the ice wall.
I start fire blasting the ice. What is it? The cantrip.
Make
Yeah,
me
firebolt.
a intelligence check.
Sure. 17.
17.
Yeah.
The firebolt crashes against your side of the ice wall, and obviously you're not going to destroy an entire ice wall with one firebolt.
Right.
But when he finishes and he shakes off the last few drops, and he pulls his breeches back up, and he's got this just incredibly satisfied grin on his face underneath his big bushy mustache, and he gives you the finger, and then he stomps back upstairs with these heavy, deliberate steps, and you see each time he pulls a boot off of the step, there's some kind of material sticking it there, some kind of residue, as he stomps his way back up.
I have 2 questions.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, did the firebolt do any damage, any visible damage to the ice wall? Like,
It left a black smoking part of it, sure.
well, I mean, like, if I stand here and just do this repeatedly, am I going to eventually get through this wall of ice?
Probably not with firebolt, I don't think. Are you going to make the attempt?
I mean, just wondering. I just figured fire melts ice.
Well, so I guess the question is, are you making the attempt?
I'll stand here for. I'll yell down. To try to get somebody's attention, and then I'll stand here and, like, I don't know, for a minute or so, just trying.
A minute, okay.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see if there's any, like, obvious damage. Like, can I get through it this way?
Repeat
Or do
that
I have to go
intelligence check over and over again until you come in under a 15.
Okay. Okay, I got 1 success.
Just one? So you send a second firebolt at the wall as Stonkmeyer is slowly and deliberately, like with great effort, pulling his boot up off of the step and up to the next one. And you hurl another firebolt. You're like, you know what? I had it with this guy. I've got as many of these firebolts I need. I'm going to bust through this ice wall and go upstairs, and I'm going to shake that gnome. And so you throw one firebolt, and you're pulling up another one inside. And when you go to throw it, nothing comes out.
That's distressing.
You guys downstairs hear a couple of firebolts crashing against the wall from above you.
Alex!
Gustavus.
Lucius! Help!
Head
Something's
upstairs.
wrong!
What's wrong?
And I'm just gonna, like, just make the hand gesture for, like, firebolt. Nothing's coming out.
Connor slowly.
It takes focus, Gustavus. You have to concentrate. You have to put your mind into it.
Also,
Gus, you should probably take a look out the window while you still can.
Gus will, like, kind of, what? It's
And
just
Scrappy will give you a hand.
Gus
You're
is gonna
having a
look
hard
out the
time
window.
floating around.
Gus, you look out the window just in time to see the sphere of the world somewhere beneath you. And it just rotates quickly in and out of view as the tower is spinning in a particular way. And you have no idea what you're looking at. It's just a weird thing goes past the night sky. A weird blue and white thing.
He goes, what's
That's-
that in the sky?
That's Trennis. It's a lot cloudier than I would have suspected. At a macro level.
Like, like above Gus, like I just kind of figure like above Gus's head, like if this were like a comic, there'd be like a ellipses just appearing above his head.
Where is Connor? It's like a sweat drop.
It's like he's just like he's like as like it's clicking into place, and he's like because he still doesn't quite get it.
Alex is just a scribble of unintelligible mathematical formulas.
Connor slowly floats his way up the stairs as best he can, using the handrail as a guide.
And it only takes a few moments to get the hang of it, because there's just nothing inhibiting your movement. You just pull yourself up. It's like climbing a rope or climbing a ladder, except you're not fighting gravity. You're not having to pull your own weight along.
I will say this. Still not as bad as the Feywild.
Do you think surface tension is the dominant force on fluids in this environment?
I understood each one of those individual words. Alex, they have some kind of weird sticky boots. You think we could maybe find some? Is there any more of these, like, you know, with they had those suits laying around? Maybe there's some boots in there.
Yeah, let's look. Are there any more of those? Yeah, are there any more of those silver robes that the cloth silver robes that people were wearing, kicking around?
Those were up on the 3rd floor. I think Alex is still wearing one.
Scrappy.
Oh
Scrappy.
yeah, Scrappy has a bunch torn up on. But no, you hadn't come across any of these boots.
Okay.
Well, sorry, I would have made Boots a spider climb if I'd known we were going to come into this.
Oh, that's probably what they are, actually. Yeah, that makes sense. No, I was in the middle of trying to fire blast through the ice wall, and my firebolts just stopped working.
Maybe that's why. Maybe that's why it's not magic boots. Maybe it's some kind of physical compound that's applied to the bottom of the shoe that lets you stick to the wall.
Ooh, yeah. You don't. So, you think we're not on the ground anymore? We're just really high up, right?
Yeah, I was
That's
right
the
about
working
the
theory.
movement, wrong about the direction.
We're in the
Okay.
night sky.
What if the binding force of the universe that is magic does not work when you go above a certain height? How terrifying would that be?
I don't know. There's one way I could find out.
Please
Connor,
don't.
immediately-
If
Connor
we
immediately-
don't have magic, how do we get back? Because I'm assuming magic is how we got it.
Connor casts Cure Wounds on himself.
Make me a wisdom check.
Uh-oh. Wisdom check, he says. Okay. Oh, wait, no, I'm good at wisdom. All right.
Yeah, you should be. I should hope so.
11.
11. Go ahead and expend the spell slot, but the spell does not occur.
Connor just lets out the longest, loudest sigh imaginable.
So a couple of your spells worked and then they stopped working?
Yeah.
All right, everybody gang up. I got one left. I'm going to use it.
You're using what?
So Alex is going to pull out a vial of salve of healing reagent, screw it into his gun. He's going to spend a fair amount of time fascinated about the way the viscous fluid moves across the inside of the container outside of the effect of gravity. Then he's going to point the gun up, pull the trigger, and fire off a mist of aura of vitality. So that's intelligence for me?
This would expend a spell slot, yes?
Yeah.
Yeah, make an intelligence check.
That is a... 8.
The mechanism of your artifact works properly, but the misting doesn't occur. The spell effects do not happen, but you do waste the spell slot. So you got that going for you.
Lucius attempts to cast is going to cast minor illusion to attempt to recreate the image of Trennis as he saw it out the door in front of him.
Make
In
a,
a 5-foot
make a
space.
charisma check.
Yep. Uh, 22.
22. You managed to create the illusion in the space of... Well, I mean, you don't really have to remember what it looks like. I mean, you can look out the window and it comes around every every minute or two. You managed to create the illusion without much difficulty, but whereas you're used to fighting against gravity, even with a flight spell, it feels like that's what's happening with magic. You got the spell to come out, but you were fighting against something. It felt a little different when you cast the spell than normal.
Something might be suppressing the magic within, and that's what's making it difficult to cast. Or like Connor surmised, the connection to magic is only reaches so far beyond the sky.
I'm
What
assuming
if Trennis is the source of magic? I never really had to think about it before because it was always pretty close.
Well, our spells worked in Sigil. That was the
Sure,
center
maybe
of
there's a
the
different
multiverse.
source in Sigil for magic, but
I mean, they
I
could
don't
have that one goddess lady that ran around flaying people. So
The hairs on Brickroad's neck just stood up at that description.
can I make an Arcana check to try and detect magic on any of our gear?
So your gear that you're carrying that was magical, including the boots that you're wearing to get around, are still magical and still feel like they're working at maximum potency. You can still detect any kind of magic on your spell focuses or magic weapons that you're carrying around as normal. It's when you go to create new magical effects, when you go to try to cast a spell, that you feel like you're... it's much more effort than you're used to.
well, at least we have that going for us, because I get the feeling that this entire tower is a magical object and that we would probably be dead if the magic failed.
Who's the most beaten up?
I am bloodied.
I am at,
I'm super bloodied.
I'm 14 out of 74.
I'm pretty bloody too.
Eeny, meeny, miny, Lucius. Can I try another Cure Wounds with a first level spell slot?
Yeah, as long as you've got spell slots, you can...
Okay.
Okay,
Oh, it's a cantrip. Okay. Yep. That's another... Nope. I need a 5.
So if you can't pass a spellcasting ability check of 15, the spell slot just fizzles out.
Yep. That's all my slots.
Damn. Okay. Well,
Alright.
looks like we're gonna have to rough it somehow.
Uh,
I don't know about you guys, but Gustavus, I regret. It pains me to say this, but I regret stopping you from wringing that gnome's neck.
do you
Oh,
also?
I think we're all going to take turns wringing that gnome's neck now.
Is the planet moving further away from us as we rotate around, or are we pretty much at a distance, a consistent distance at this point?
Watching it comes by every couple of minutes.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to tell whether it's still
I'll
receding
pull out
from-
a tool and I'll measure it at arm's length or something.
In that case, it seems pretty stable. And
Okay.
watching it, go ahead and give me an intelligence check.
Sure.
Just straight
I
intelligence.
mean, my character knows, definitely knows trigonometry, so
Of
that
course.
would be a 15 on intelligence.
Okay. Watching it, you're not sure how fast you're moving or in what direction, but it seems like the distance back to the world is pretty stable, and you managed to kind of calculate the spin of the tower at this point. The world's coming into view not because it's moving quickly around you, but rather because you're in an object that is spinning relative to it.
Well, we're either so far from it that at this point any additional distance is adding up very, very slowly, or we've stopped moving away from the planet. So, ice walls last a couple of hours. I'm going to try and get us some rest. And Alex will float over to one of these chairs.
Are the chairs still there? I thought they got ripped up.
Some of them had. One
I
of
thought
them,
the ones upstairs had been ripped up.
one of the ones down here had been destroyed, and some of them have
Oh,
been
yeah.
demolished and stacked up on the other side of the ice wall.
Alex will do his best to make himself comfortable in the chair and try and get a short rest, sending Scrappy up to guard the ice wall.
I thought Scrappy was slagged.
I spent a spell slot to fix him.
Okay. Hopefully you did that before we blasted off.
Yeah, we did that like a while ago.
You just have Scrappy go up and, I mean, not sit, but float.
Yeah, Scrappy just float. Just Scrappy, if anything happens with the wall, let me know.
Sitting
From
there,
what I remember, ice walls last some number of hours, so I'm going to see if I can get some rest, because I'm pretty fucking beaten up.
he's badger paddling.
The 3 chairs that remain here still have ropes attached to them, so you could tie yourself down if you were so inclined.
Is that more comfortable? Do I think I could actually rest like that, or?
I mean, if you just sit down in the chair and fall asleep, you'll eventually drift up and out of the chair. It's just...
Yeah, so that's what Alex will do.
It's up to personal preference.
Yeah, Connor will do the same thing.
Gus is just
Spending
gonna
hit
float.
dice. Spending hit dice sounds like a really good idea.
Yeah,
ahead and
hit
take-
dice is a...
Take the benefits of the short rests. The weightlessness is strange, but you acclimate to it like surprisingly quickly. And it's not unpleasant. It's just you're so used to feeling the weight of your body in your feet and in your butt or in your back if you're laying down, and now you just don't. Like all your muscles can just relax at once. It's a sensation you've never felt before. So not unpleasant at all. Well, I won't say never felt before. Some of you guys have done some pretty hard drugs.
You done with those? You done with those D8s, Destil?
Yeah, go ahead and regain. You can spend as many hit dice as you want. Lucius,
Sir.
you need to pass an ability check for every spell slot that you want to recover. So however many spell slots you're down, you've got to make a charisma check, DC 15, or you do not recover the slot.
Okay. Let me just... I rolled really high for spending 5 hit dice, so I'm back up to full, basically.
Because you're going to try to get slots back on a short rest, correct?
Correct. And, yeah, let's adjust that real quick. Alright. Charisma check, you said?
It's a spell casting ability check, which for you is charisma. It's going to be intelligence for Gus and Alex, and wisdom for Connor.
I don't get the spell back. I don't get the slot back.
Okay.
I only got 2 slots, and I already spent 1, and I didn't get it back.
So for Lucius, because you never have to put in any effort to recharge these spells. This is just a gift that was bestowed upon you by a supernatural entity from another plane, but you feel so far away from that entity in this place. And
That's never happened before.
the rest of you can't recover spell slots at the moment anyway. But go ahead and spend hit dice. And remarkably little changes in the hour. Some of you manage to drift off to sleep for a little bit. Those of you who don't, just watch the world go by the window every so often.
Kind of peaceful up here. I mean, if this wasn't objectively the most terrifying situation I've ever found myself in, this would be pretty nice. As I'm floating upside down, just kind
Intensely fascinating.
of at like a slight, like off-kilter 45-degree angle, spinning slowly in space.
Alex, without even thinking about it, lights a cigarette.
Your cigarette lights up just fine. Just the smoke doesn't drift away from it in the predictable pattern. It kind of just dissipates across the whole of the room because there's no...
I guess without gravity to... Huh, interesting.
And after a few minutes, there's just kind of this tobacco miasma accumulating throughout the world. Well, there is some slight ventilation because the door in the bottom of the tower has been blown off.
So
Yeah, I'm concerned of what happens if we try to leave the tower from that door.
Nope. We are not doing that.
We could tether Scrappy and have him take a look. He doesn't need to breathe. For all I know, there's air out there.
Yeah, that's... How would you guys even know you can't
Yeah,
breathe
yeah.
out there?
Yeah. Sorry, I won't say he doesn't need to breathe.
No one is crossing that plane out the door.
I mean, look, if we go outside, maybe we can get a look from the outside. Like, if the windows in the observatory have opened up too, we might be able to get a look into the top.
Yeah, but our
The only other places we have are down to where those heat pipes were or try and do something with this door. We'd already pretty much failed at doing anything with this door. Alex will fly over and see if there's any change to the door since the last time he looked at it.
Nope, looks the same.
It's got an advanced arcane lock. I couldn't pop it before. Okay, well, if you don't want to go down to the door, I'd say my vote's to go down the hidden passageway and see how far down we can go before
Space.
we're not in a tower anymore. Just get a look at what's changed.
Yeah.
Buddy system, and Gus is going to pull out rope. You have some rope, right, Alex?
Oh yeah.
Alex, give me some rope.
There's no
Yeah,
shortage
Alex.
of rope because there's some attached to the last couple of chariots, but there's a couple of coils
Yeah.
just on
Well,
Yeah,
I'm like-
Alex tethers himself to Scrappy with a 10-foot rope.
Right. I'm going to. tether
Actually,
my-
Alex gives himself 40 feet because he's got flying boots. So
Yeah, we're going to. I'm going to take a 50-foot rope, 2 50-foot ropes, since Alex has got so much rope, and I'm going to tie one to my waist. I'm going to tie both ends to my waist. Tie one to Connor. Tie one to Lucius.
I have. Oh God. I went overboard in Sigil when we were buying provisions. I have 10 50-foot lengths of silk rope in the bag.
that's enough. We have
Yeah.
functionally infinite rope. It's all
Yeah,
it
yeah,
all
but-
belongs to one gargantuan rope mimic that's going to come to life. And
There's a bag you can buy for that. Bag of infinite rope.
so going downstairs, and so who's going to actually check the door? Is Alex going first?
Yeah, Alex will go first.
Okay. And you press against the door, and it opens up, looking down, and you're looking down at the staircase kind of curving away to your left, and it's only 15 feet or so curving around before it's just splinters of wood and broken stone and the destroyed foundation, and then just black beyond that.
Yep, nothing. We're now on the bottom floor, people. I've got boots of flying, so I'm gonna make my way down here with Scrappy tethered up here. I got 30 feet of rope on him,
And as
just
you
to get a better look.
as you get close to where the bottom of the steps are, so another couple of steps, and before you drop away into blackness forever, you feel something physical in front of you, like pushing your hand against a curtain of air that's just kind of hanging in front of you. It feels like a membrane, and when you push your hand beyond it, the other side feels deathly cold.
Oh. Okay, so here's the deal. Remember that air shield around the tower?
The bubble.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we still have it. It's pretty permeable at this height, maybe because magic is weakening. But I was able to get my hand through it, and the other side, if I had left my hand through that much longer, I'd have started getting frostbite. It's like the Arctic out there.
Teleteus.
Well, at the very least, that kind of means that, I guess, falling back to the planet is out if it's that cold. We would probably freeze to death before we hit the bottom.
I mean, at the speed I can kick off the top of the tower, we'd probably starve to death before we get there.
Okay, well, our solution now at this point is to figure out a Stogmeyer and
You had to
Crack
interrupt
it.
his lecture. I might have some idea of what we were doing up here if we'd listened to the rest of the lecture.
it wasn't me, it was the other.
I wasn't
It was
talking to you.
Connor.
Connor ruined everything.
Lucius
Gus
starts
helped.
drifting back upstairs, pulling himself up.
All right, you know what?
Yeah,
Wind
I'm
it down.
sorry we're stuck in the night sky. Yeah, this isn't on me, guys.
I need to borrow Scrappy, Alex.
Yeah.
So I'm going to position Scrappy here, and I'm going to tell him to basically clamp onto the thing, so I have something to brace up against.
Okay.
And you know what I'm going to start doing? I'm going to start hitting this wall of ice with my hammer.
Okay. And the sound of your hammer crashing against the wall starts ringing out through the rest of the tower.
And again, is it
Why
doing
is
anything?
part of the wall yellow on the other side?
And after a few moments, Stonkmeyer takes a few steps in his big, heavy boots down to the tower, and he watches you crash your hammer against this thick wall of ice a few times. And then he calls out, and you hear him on the other side of the wall. He says, "This is extremely amusing. You put on a good show." And his
Gus
voice-
starts swinging the hammer faster.
And he calls out and says, "The rest of you back there, when this one tires out and you're ready to talk, do let me know." And he turns and, with great effort, stomps his way back up the stairs.
What have you done?
And he's-
I'm just gonna let Gus tire himself out.
And
That actually was pretty much exactly Alex's plan.
after a few moments, Gus, it does become pretty clear that getting through this wall with just your hammer... I mean, it's a wonderful hammer, don't get me wrong.
Magic hammer. I guess I could try a bladed object. Bladed. I'm going to turn it into an axe and keep trying.
Yeah, after a few moments, I mean, your arms are just worn out and tired. And there's just a pile at your feet of just chipped ice and shavings and snow, and if you had anything to drink, you could chill your glass.
Well, wouldn't it be drifting through the air as he's breaking it off?
I suppose it would be.
How thick is this wall?
It's pretty thick. I mean, it encompasses
Thick
several of the steps going up.
Thick enough until thick enough to keep us out until he's ready to deal with us on his terms. So,
You have a better solution?
no, I think.
If you could somehow
all right,
brace yourself
calling
against
a truce.
cold,
I'm gonna say we call out a truce and find out what the fuck he did and be prepared to discuss terms so we don't crack his skull immediately when we get our hands on him.
Okay, Gus, I want to be very clear here. When we say discuss terms, what does that mean you're doing?
Gus looks confused. Like, what do you mean?
Last time, I gave you a look to let you know to stop attacking someone. You attacked someone.
Okay,
So I think
historically-
nonverbal communication that's on me. I'm not great at it.
Historically, your pointed looks mean go beat the person up.
That's when people have done something wrong.
He fireballed us.
We're in his house. He didn't kidnap. I mean, as far as we know, okay, maybe he kidnapped these people. They seemed like maybe voluntary. I don't know. It was a gray area. I get what you're saying. It makes sense from your perspective that, yeah, a lot of the time, like when we were in that sewer, if I'd given you the same look, yes, that would have meant, but yeah, okay, I'm not good at nonverbal communication. I'm going to make a note of that for the future. We're learning.
I just want to point out here that his house took off into the night sky with us in it.
Yeah,
That's a bad
I know.
thing.
We're trying to remedy the situation, Connor. All right, and the first step is going to be dealing with Stockmeyer on his own terms.
The first step is admitting there's a problem.
Gustavus.
There is definitely a problem.
Like, I'm not going to attack but if he fireballs us again, then I'm going to beat him to death. There is not going to be like no,
If you beat him to death, we might get stuck up here forever.
Yeah,
we can
might
take
get
a
stuck.
fireball. If he goes to do a second fireball, by all means. But
Gus Gus is counting on his fingers and like he's doing he could tell he's doing mental math and you could kind of see him is it worth it to be stuck up here to beat this gnome to death? Okay, fine.
second fireball, by all means, go for it. I don't think we can take two of those, but one fireball, I think our best chances of survival are still talking to him.
I'm glad we've worked out a fireball threshold.
I think Gus's fireball threshold is still one fireball.
Lucius calls out Stonkmeyer. My companion isn't going to beat the tar out of you. We're ready to discuss your terms.
After a few more moments, he comes stomping back down the stairs. I mean, the visage of him is kind of warped and twisted because you're looking at him through a couple feet of wall of ice. But he holds his hand out, and you see that one of the acolytes, one of the people in the silver robes, the man who was tied up in this room when you first came through here, steps behind him and hands out a small hatchet. And Stockmeyer takes it in his hands, and he hits the banister to his left a couple times and chips away some of the ice, breaks through the banister, a hole just barely big enough to fit a couple of fingers through, but enough that you can speak through it clearly. And he leans up close to the hole, which looks very comical from your angle. And he says, well, that's good to hear.
Before we discuss anything, I want to know, where are we and what have you done?
He says before any negotiation? Negotiation's not the right word. He looks up at his acolyte. The acolyte kind of shrugs. He looks back, because really you have no leverage to negotiate with.
No, we really don't.
But just so we all know, the angles that we're working with, the mathematics of the situation, I have a button in my command console upstairs, and if I press it, every stone of this tower will disintegrate. Do you believe me?
Yeah, you're crazy enough to do that.
On the one hand, yes, I think you're barmy enough to do it, but why would you kill yourselves to end us?
Well, I debated this extreme security measure for some time before I designed it, but I thought if at my grand moment of glory, interlopers had somehow gotten inside the tower and threatened the mission after launch, I would need a fail-safe button to hit in order to abort everything. And that seems like a very sensible decision, looking back on it now.
I'm confused about your grand mission here. Like, you told us, but like your stated goals do not equate to the actions that you have taken in my brain. I don't see your end game.
I feel the less we hear about the inner workings of your so-called brain, the sounder we will all sleep at night. Well, night is relative in our situation, but you understand my meaning. Or perhaps you don't.
Connor doesn't say anything, but he just sort of looks at Gus and makes a 0 with his hand.
Is when we're rotating around, is there a sun in the sky?
He tells you that he expects you'll be able to see the sun in another several hours as you come around the backside, the unknown side of the planet. He says right now the tower is positioned between the sun and the world, and we're spinning in such a way that you cannot see it from the window. But in a few hours, the world itself, the rotation of it, our orbit will bring us to the other side, and so the world will be between us and the sun. And oh, he says wistfully, a spectacular view that will be.
Orbit a planet?
Unfortunately, half of my team did not make it onto the tower before launch, and unfortunately one of my team was incinerated during my combat with the interlopers. So it seems I am down 5 men. And he waits expectantly.
Lucius is very angry at this at the implication that. So what are you? So what have we been press ganged? I guess we've been press ganged. Then is that what the situation is?
Well, far be it for me to force anyone to do something they don't want to do, but it does seem to me that you have 2 options. One, you can join my crew and come in under my command and help serve the mission that we're on, or option 2, you can leave.
I mean, assuming it's as cold out there as I think it is, even if we were immune to cold, quick mental math says we'd starve to death on the way. So, yeah, I'm on board.
It's
Speaking
worse-
of starved to death,
He tells you it's worse than that, my friend. If you were to step through the door, food would be the least of your worries. And he just smiles knowingly. He tells you that they brought aboard provisions enough for 9 people for a 3-year mission.
I have absolutely no plans to be on this ship for 3 years. I have a dissertation to deliver at Kiska.
And you're free to leave at any moment. And he
And Alex is just gonna do his best to not let out any visible reaction to that, but he's obviously like, what?
Yeah, he gives you a mocking salute, and he wishes you safe travels home.
No, like Alex is just trying to be like, okay, sure, but inward, like it's pretty obvious because Alex has a terrible charisma score and his bluff is something like -3. That he's like, what inside?
He's just grinding his teeth and turning bright
Yeah.
purple.
Yep. Deception is -2, so
He tells you that originally the mission had planned to utilize all 3 floors of the tower, but they can quite comfortably complete all of their work just on the floor above. So, as long as you all refuse to join the mission and refuse to leave the tower, he's really just happy to leave you to your own devices down here. You can futilely smash against my wall or try to burrow out of my walls, but you will find us quite unreachable. I've taken every precaution.
so you plan on going back after 3 years?
And he kind of cocks his head to one side and says, in a manner of speaking.
Gus is like rubbing his forehead, like the space between his eyebrows with a finger. He's counting backwards from 10.
Says, well, all of the provisions are on this side of the wall, and I'm sure you've discovered by now that magic is tenuous at best out here. So magical forms of sustaining yourself with replenishing food and water. I wish you luck, but unless you join my command, that's all you'll have from me.
Connor tries casting Goodberry.
Make a wisdom check.
Hey, that's a 21.
You cast the spell and you manage to create a number of good berries.
Connor holds out his hand, filled with good berries.
And
If anyone would like one.
Stuntmeyer
take
smiles and says, well, I can see that you all are adequately taken care of. Is our business concluded then?
I guess for now.
I'm not gonna wait down here for 3 years. I'll at least find
No.
out what's going on. So Alex moves forward to move up the stairs.
Lucius very, very angrily steps forward as well. But
What about Gus and Connor?
Oh, and Strappy.
Gus and Connor are still defiant.
I mean, we'll.
I have good berries, Gus. Just saying.
Gus, that's 3 years with no bread, no full flavor wings, no beer. Just good.
Yeah,
berry
I don't have the
every
beer
day.
jug, Gus. I can't make it anymore. If
But
I
they're
could make the beer
Goodberries.
jug, I'm sure Gus would be fine.
But they're good berries. It has good in the name.
They're okay berries.
passable berry.
Passable beer.
It tells you
I just-
Fine,
Whatever.
fine, whatever. Yeah, no, it's
the crew.
Connor
Upon the-
still thinks everyone should take a good berry, but put them in his pocket for now.
Lucius took one as he's stepping forward.
Oh, okay, cool.
You're told
Yeah, Alex will take one.
the crew
Yeah.
aboard the Hambar is a non-violent clique. That he cannot have any weapons of war aboard his vessel that he doesn't control. So his first command to you he's going to send one of his acolytes to accompany you downstairs to witness as you throw any motions to Gus's hammer and Alec's gun and any other weapons you're openly carrying, including spell focuses, magic tomes, and Scrappy. Says once we've disposed of all of that, we can begin discussing terms of your employment.
That's going to be a non-starter.
Yeah, no.
Agreed. No. You will have my word that if we work with you, we'll do so for full faithfulness.
Plus, I don't know what's up here. Maybe there's something that eats stars. I'd like to be able to shoot at it if we run into it.
He tells you we're nowhere near the stars, my friend.
Well, then it will be very hungry when it gets here.
Well, very well. And he stands up and he starts clomping back upstairs. And he calls back, "Let me know if you change your mind." And after he disappears up around the corner, after a few moments, you watch the wall of ice replenish itself. The black holes of the firebolts are gone. The chipped edges that Gus worked so hard for ice back over with a cracking sound. And the hole that he knocked through the banister also ices over. And the top of the tower seals off once again.
So I was doing damage to it. It just was very slow going, or was it just like, was it replenishing as fast as I was breaking it apart?
It wasn't replenishing at all, but I mean, like, you can swing a fire axe against a cement wall and knock a chip out of it, but you're not going to tunnel through a cement wall with a fire axe.
So, Alex, here's my suggestion.
Yep.
We have a tireless badger with force-rending claws. Just have him beat on the wall while we look at other avenues.
I mean, the problem with that is they just rebuilt the wall effortlessly, so I don't think that's necessarily going to be functional, but I think let's look at other avenues.
Oh, wait. If nothing else, the beating, like, it's not going to give them any peace, because F those guys.
They wanted 5 people. Why does Scrappy not count?